Welcome back to the Abundant Health Principles. In our first lesson, we explored adequate fresh air and looked at why the quality of the air we breathe matters, how we can improve indoor air quality, and how simple habits like spending time outdoors can support our health. Today we turn to our second principle, balanced living. The Bible gives us a remarkably practical standard in 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether therefore ye eat, or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. Balanced living is not about deprivation or trying to live a joyless life. It is about learning to use good things wisely, recognizing when enough is enough, and avoiding choices that can harm our bodies, minds, relationships, or spiritual lives. In this lesson, we'll look at what self-control means, why excess can become harmful, and how wise boundaries can actually lead to greater freedom. Balanced living begins with a simple idea. Not everything that is available to us is beneficial, and even good things can become unhealthy when they are taken to excess. Temperance is avoiding what is harmful while using what is healthful wisely. That principle applies far beyond food. It can include how much we work, how much we rest, how we use technology, what we drink, the substances we allow into our bodies, and even how we spend our time. Balance asks a practical question. Does this choice strengthen my life, or is it beginning to control me? Christian self-control is not simply saying no. It is learning to say yes to what helps us live with clarity, purpose, and freedom. Paul compared the Christian life to an athlete preparing for competition. 1 Corinthians 9:25 says that an athlete striving for mastery exercises self-control in all things. An athlete does not practice discipline because movement, food, rest, or recreation are bad. Discipline is necessary because there is a larger purpose. The same is true in everyday life. Self-control helps us choose what serves our long-term well-being instead of simply responding to whatever feels good in the moment. That may mean stopping when we have eaten enough, protecting time for sleep, setting boundaries around work or screens, or choosing not to use a substance that can become addictive. Self-control is not weakness or deprivation. It is the ability to make a choice instead of being ruled by an impulse. Not every problem comes from something obviously harmful. Sometimes imbalance develops when a perfectly good activity begins taking up too much space in our lives. Food nourishes us, but overeating can harm health. Work gives purpose and provides for our needs, but constant overwork can leave us exhausted. Rest restores us, but inactivity can weaken the body. Technology can connect and educate us, but hours of mindless scrolling can crowd out sleep, relationships, movement, and spiritual reflection. Balanced living does not mean every area receives exactly the same number of hours. It means our choices remain in their proper place. A useful question is this helping me fulfill my responsibilities and values, or is it beginning to interfere with them? Balanced living also recognizes that some substances are not simply a matter of moderation. Tobacco is one clear example. The CDC reports that cigarette smoking harms nearly every organ of the body and causes cancer, heart disease, stroke, and chronic lung disease. Nicotine itself is highly addictive, including the nicotine found in many e-cigarettes. Other drugs can also alter judgment, affect the heart and brain, or lead to dependence and addiction. The purpose of this lesson is not to condemn people who struggle with substances. Addiction is a serious health condition, and people often need support, treatment, and compassion. The principle is simply this: when a substance has the potential to enslave or seriously harm us, wisdom may mean choosing not to begin, or seeking help to become free. Tobacco remains one of the clearest examples of a preventable health risk. According to the CDC, smoking causes cancer, heart disease, stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, type 2 diabetes, and other serious health problems. Cigarette smoking remains a leading cause of preventable disease and death in the United States. And tobacco does not affect only the person using it. Secondhand smoke can harm the heart and blood vessels and can cause coronary heart disease and stroke in people who do not smoke. If someone already uses tobacco or nicotine, quitting can be difficult because nicotine is addictive. Needing help is not a failure. Counseling, healthcare support, and evidence-based quit treatments can make a real difference. Alcohol deserves careful consideration because it is socially accepted in many places, yet it can affect both immediate safety and long-term health. Alcohol can impair judgment, reaction time, and coordination, which increases the risk of falls, crashes, injuries, and other accidents. With longer-term use, alcohol can affect the liver and cardiovascular system and is associated with several cancers. Current information from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism notes that health risks can occur even at relatively low levels of consumption, particularly for certain cancers and cardiovascular conditions. For Christians who choose abstinence, there are clear health reasons supporting that decision. And for anyone who finds that alcohol is becoming difficult to control, seeking help early can prevent much greater harm later. Cannabis and other mind-altering drugs also fit into the discussion of balanced living. THC-containing cannabis can affect mood, thinking, perception, memory, and coordination. These effects are especially important when driving, operating equipment, or making decisions. Powerful stimulants such as cocaine and methamphetamine carry even greater risks. Cocaine can contribute to heart attacks, strokes, and seizures, while methamphetamine can cause rapid or irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, anxiety, paranoia, stroke, and other serious effects. The takeaway is not that every substance has exactly the same risk. It is that substances that impair judgment, create dependence, or damage health deserve to be taken seriously. Balanced living also includes our relationship with work. Hard work is valuable, but constant activity without recovery can gradually crowd out sleep, family, worship, recreation, and physical health. God's design includes both work and rest. The Sabbath itself gives us a weekly reminder that our value is not measured only by what we produce. Rest does not mean laziness, and work does not have to become our identity. Healthy balance allows us to be productive while still making room for relationships, worship, movement, sleep, and renewal. Sometimes one of the healthiest things we can do is simply recognize that we have done enough for today. Daniel gives us a powerful biblical example of balanced living and conviction. When Daniel was taken to Babylon, he entered an environment filled with pressure to adopt the customs around him. Daniel chapter 1 verse 8 says that he purposed in his heart not to defile himself. What stands out is that Daniel made his decision before the pressure became overwhelming. He knew what he valued, and he established a boundary. That principle is still useful today. Self-control is easier when we decide ahead of time what our values are rather than waiting until we are tired, pressured, tempted, or emotionally overwhelmed. Balanced living begins with knowing what matters most. The Bible also shows us that temptation often appeals to legitimate needs. After fasting in the wilderness, Jesus was hungry. Satan's first temptation was centered on food. Command that these stones be made bread. Food itself was not the problem. Hunger was not the problem. The issue was whether appetite would determine his actions. Jesus answered, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God." Balanced living means that our appetites have a place, but they do not have to be our master. Our values, convictions, and relationship with God can guide our choices even when desire is strong. Just as we did an air inventory in our first lesson, take a moment to do a balance inventory. Is there any area of life where you regularly feel out of control? Is work crowding out family or rest? Is entertainment keeping you up later than you intended? Do you find yourself reaching for food, alcohol, nicotine, or another substance whenever you feel stressed? None of these questions is meant to produce guilt. They are simply tools for awareness. We cannot change what we refuse to notice. Sometimes one small boundary, a bedtime, a screen limit, a decision not to purchase something, or asking someone for help, can begin restoring balance. Balanced living becomes practical through simple daily choices. Choose what strengthens your body and mind. Set limits before good things become excessive. Avoid substances that can damage health or lead to addiction. Protect adequate time for sleep, rest, relationships, and worship. And perhaps most importantly, ask for help when you need it. Self-control does not mean we must conquer every struggle alone. God often works through family, friends, pastors, counselors, physicians, support groups, and treatment programs. The goal is not perfection. The goal is growing freedom, the ability to make choices that support the life God is calling us to live. Balanced living is ultimately about freedom. It is the freedom to enjoy good things without being controlled by them. The freedom to say no when something is harmful. The freedom to rest without guilt and work without allowing work to consume us. 2 Timothy 1-7 speaks of power, love, and a sound mind. Those qualities fit beautifully with the principle of balanced living. As we invite God into our choices, He can help us develop wisdom, healthy boundaries, and self-control. one decision at a time. Sources for this lesson are listed here, with full citations and links in the video description. Thank you for joining us for Principle 2, Balanced Living. We hope this lesson has encouraged you to consider where greater balance, self-control, or healthier boundaries might bring more freedom into your life. In our next lesson, we'll explore Principle 3. Use water wisely and discover why adequate hydration is so important to the way our bodies function. Until next time, may God bless you as you continue the journey toward abundant health, body, mind, and spirit.